Hello, everybody. I'm Monica Berger, and this is Elizabeth, who's my sidekick. And I am super duper excited today to hang out with somebody that I have got to know a little bit better over the last year or two that I so fully admire. And I'm so thankful that I got to know this person on the road, traveling, doing our gig. So I'm gonna cut Elizabeth. Actually, Elizabeth is gonna take a nap right now, and she's gonna take a little rest while I introduce to you the amazing Justin Ohm, who is the president of ICPA. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And yes, it was great to connect. We find ourselves at a number of the same conferences over the past couple years. But I know you from way back when you were instructor for ICPA when I went through the program. So I trained under you back then. And but yes, it has been great to get to know you better.
Yeah, it was a minute or two ago. I think that was, I don't know. I'm old. It was like I started like 2003 or 2005, or
Yeah.
it was,
Yep.
it was,
Early
yeah,
2000s, mid 2000s.
yeah, it was. And you're still a baby, right?
It seems like yesterday, but no, I am gray and definitely not a baby anymore. Although I think we all have that perpetual image of ourselves of, forever young, which I think is healthy. So yeah,
Exactly.
a
Well,
baby.
I got to know you, and I want to tell everybody, Justin is. If you guys have ever seen that movie When Harry Met Sally, and there's the famous scene of Meg Ryan in the restaurant with Billy Crystal. Did you see that movie?
Oh, of course.
Okay. And so then, after that scene, a woman who actually was Rob Reiner's, I think, mom in real life, said, "I want what she's having."
Oh, what she's having. Yeah.
Well, Justin, Justin is this cool, calm, collected, steady energy, and I'm like, I want that. Like, do you ever get frazzled? Like you're
I do get frazzled, and if I can give you I have a very kind of definitive point in my early life when I feel like that clicked for me. Like, oh, the ups and the downs, we can mitigate this. And it was actually it's a really intense story. It was the last day of school when I was 16 years old, and I had one of my only friends that had a license. I was borrowing my parents' minivan, and school's out for summer. Tearing ass out of the parking lot. We're heading down the road, and the energy was so high. And if have a family practice, you can or kids, when that energy is getting to that kind of level, something's about to break. Something's going to happen. Someone's going to get hurt. That energy, and that's the sine wave reaching its peak, and it's about to collapse back down. So I'm racing down the road, and everyone's having fun in the back, and the music's blasting. And next thing I know, I had lost control of the van, and we rolled. And now I had 6 passengers in the van with me, and everything slowed down, and I had a up close view. It was the most surreal thing of every single friend in that van,
Oh,
eye
wow.
to eye. And it was like I went from one to the next to the next. We're okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay to the next one. And somehow nobody was injured. And we all walked away from this. And I rolled the minivan. It was a terrible accident.
Wow.
Um, and that really changed me. Um, Lasting, like that's a fundamental imprint for me. And I now am very keen to stay even keel because I think what goes up must come down. And I'm a living example of that. And I just don't understand why I was given that second chance where we all were able to walk away from that, but we were.
Wow, what a story. I hadn't heard that before, and I thank goodness you did walk away, but I do want that's a different perspective for me. I'm like, yeah, I want what he has, but I don't want it the way you got it. Wow. Wow. Okay. And you've been doing this work literally since before you were born. You've been since you were in the womb because your mom was a legendary genome, uh, and your dad's a chiropractor. Is your dad still practicing?
Yeah, we practice right next to each other in the same home office that I was, born and raised in, and so my dad's still practicing, and he has his light schedule, his regulars, and I have my light schedule because of other responsibilities now with the
Mhm.
ICPA, and I have an associate, which has been, a godsend as well. So yeah, but we're practicing together, and I really value that I've been able to work with my dad for so many
Oh,
years.
huge. Tell him I said hi, by the way. He would
Will do.
always pick me up when we'd have the classes at your house, and he was just always saying steady, kind of steady Eddie, kind of
Yep.
Tom. Um, so you have been born into this life, and you've got a huge load on your shoulder, a huge responsibility of carrying the torch in pediatric chiropractic. And
Oh,
we
thanks for reminding me.
all the practitioners really, I don't care if you're family practice, musculoskeletal practice, or whatever. Oh, this gentleman, a huge debt of gratitude because you've done amazing carrying that torch forward. Um, so you have a big birthday celebration coming up with the ICPA, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we have the 40th anniversary. So every 2 years we do a ICPA gathering. It's like a membership meeting. This one is the 40th anniversary of the ICPA. Larry Webster started the ICPA way back in 1986. So the ICPA has really, really grown since that early time, and we're set to have just a big party, and you'll be there. You're one of the presenters at this. We have a wonderful lineup. So this is coming up in May down in Reston, Virginia, which is just outside of DC.
Yeah, you got a killer lineup. So I think you'll maybe drop the link or something if people want to sign up because I mean the lineup you have is phenomenal. And I hope you're going to be speaking, right? You
I will
better
be.
be.
Yeah. Yep.
So Justin was at the Wave in 2024, I think it was, and he closed the day, and it was like a mic drop presentation. Literally, it was boom, killer, stellar. So you guys got to hear this awesome guy. So what was it like being born as a Cairo kid in the world of Jeannie and Tom? Um,
It's
and how do you find that that experience has prepped you for changes you're seeing in the peds Cairo world now?
it's it's such a weird question because everyone has this image of mom because she was such a big voice in chiropractic, and rightfully so, but she was also just she was away a lot on the weekends, and she would come home and she was just mom for me. And she was driven, and she was wild, and that wasn't like a lot of people, you see their stage persona or their interview persona or whatever. And it's like, oh, that's not the person that I knew, or know off the stage. But she was kind of just like wild like that all the time. Like she was like that around the dinner table. And, and ICPA has always just been such a big part of our family. I remember in high school, her kind of like cornering me and some of my friends over there. And, we've got a big mailer that needs to go out on Monday, and everybody line up. You just watch me do it like this. You pick up this one, fold it, then this one, go around the whole table, get everything, put it in the envelope, and we're going to do this mailer. We're going to get it done real quick. And then it's me and, a couple of friends and our girlfriends, stuffing envelopes. This is how it was done back in the day. And then, knowing and getting to know the board and getting to know all the instructors and then going through the classes. But how has it prepared me? That's kind of, I got a similar question when I started chiropractic school, and we're like diving into the green books and learn, and friends would have been like, oh my gosh, your mom's Jeannie Ohm. So teachers were saying that to me, like, you already know all this stuff, don't you?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't know any of this stuff. They didn't read us the green books to bed, like this is all new to me too. Like, but you get this, I guess, credit as a result of, who your mom is. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously it helped me, and it created, And I think a lot of Cairo kids are, kind of raised with an inherent trust in their body, and kind of looking at how right their body responds, and oh, if you have a fever, it's not a bad thing. I really kind of believe that. Like, I've never known anything other, which is wild. Then going through the past few years, and just kind of seeing the fear that became so pervasive and still is. I guess it was always there, and it just became obvious that it was there. And so that was kind of hard, like, oh wait, I thought, what, you guys don't trust your body? Oh, okay, that's a shame. So that's kind of, I think that's the biggest foundational thing that you bring, having grown up with chiropractors as parents.
Yeah, just natural too. Can I put you on the spot? There was one of the conferences we were at together. I think it was in Nebraska. I can't remember, but you told the story, and it just sticks with me to this day. And I don't remember the specifics. It was somebody that works with ICP or you or something, but they were in the apartment, I think, behind your house, your dad's house, and she was in labor and having a difficult time. And you and the midwife had a little powwow. Can you just recap that story a little bit? Because it was so beautiful, and the way you handled it gave me the goosebumps. I just think it's so profound for the world to hear the story.
So I'm the oldest of 6 siblings, and so we had kids first. My wife and I had kids first. We had 4 home births, and then my younger brother Jesse, he started having kids. They had 2 home births, and then the next one down, Paul, he had 4 home births, and now we're getting down to my brother Timmy, and they're pregnant with their first, so they're having their first home birth. And then 2 weeks after that, my youngest sibling, my sister Tia, is set to deliver as well. And the tricky thing is, like, we're raised with a certain mentality or certain attitude and trust in the body, but then you bring people, women, your partner, with a very different experience. And so I just felt like Timmy's Michelle, Timmy's partner, she was kind of holding that fear, and it was blocking things from progressing. So I'm checking on her and adjusting her, and really kind of selling it, like, oh my gosh, that was such a good adjustment. You really needed that. Things are going to open up now. Because I think we need to have that. Sometimes we need that trust kind of just like put on, like, you got
Sure.
this now. But then I left. I gave her some space, and I went outside, and the midwives had just come back from getting coffee, and they were looking kind of like, well, yeah. And I'm like, so what's going on? And this is a midwife that we used for our births too, so I know her quite well. And she's like, yeah, I just, I know birth, and this feels like one that's going to need to transfer. And I'm like, oh boy, okay, can we not say that to Michelle though? Can we kind of just lie to her for the time being? Because I really think she's about to break through on this. And at that moment, my wife came out, and the midwives are like, all right, well, let's go up. Let's see how she's doing now. And I'm like, actually, let's give Melissa, my wife, just a few minutes with Michelle. I'll show you the house. I'll bring you inside. You want a snack or something? And I kind of like stalled as my wife went up and connected with Michelle on a woman to woman basis. And so I don't know. Well, I do know. It was the connection. It was the connection that she made
Wow.
with Melissa, that you have to do this regardless of where you're going to do it. Whether you do it here, you transfer to a hospital, you're going to have to do this thing. But I'll take a little bit of credit. Maybe that adjustment was, a key factor as well. But no, it's the connection and seeing, oh my gosh, this is possible. And then realizing, being empowered into the place of like, yes, okay, I have to do this. This is me and the baby working through this process. And that's the kind of empowerment that I like to kind of create, that aha moment when possible in practice too, because I think that's what's missing. That's really what's missing in, obstetrics, but certainly modern medicine in general, is like, we got to do that empowerment thing. We've got to give, women, moms to be permission to be successful. When they hear over and over again everything that's going wrong, it's really easy to kind of fall into that rut and follow that path then. So, but
It's
yeah, so
it's
that
just
was my niece.
It was such a beautiful story. And I think that you hit it. It's the adjustment, but it's the connection. And I just got a paper the other day on touch, on preterm births and touch. And I think I have a thing about preterm NICU babies, and it's just kind of my deal the last 10 years or so, helping those babies. But what they did was they had an intervention group and a non-intervention group, and they taught the parents, particularly moms, this pattern of touch, starting with the head, neck, shoulders, body. Anyway, and they did that for 35 days, twice a day, and they show that those little fiddle farts, preterm kiddos, ended up having a better latch, better growth, better head circumference, better feeding. They figured that the better growth was because they had a better latch, they were eating, they bonded with moms, and the neurodevelopmental outcomes were better. And they talked about this touch and this connection between mom and baby and those outcomes, and enhancing parasympathetic control regulation through touch, and also how the moms suffered less postpartum depression. But for me, that's exactly what you're saying, is this connection. And as chiropractors, we use our hands. We tend to have this compassion and this connection, and I think that follows through in the adjustment. So
Yeah.
that's a beautiful story you had, and I think everybody should hear that. So with that said, if you would want a chiropractor out there, that's going to be question number one. Chiropractors out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part of that, parents or parents to be. What's the one thing you would tell each of those groups, and it might be the same or not, that you want them to get out of chiropractic, that the chiropractic message?
Well, I think for for the chiropractors, I hope that we can continue to move in a direction as a profession, or maybe not as a profession, but certainly as a discipline within chiropractic, seeing families for wellness-based care, seeing kids, that we continue in the direction of taking care of kids for the purpose of adaptability. In other words, not just because there's a suspected tongue tie, or just because there's latching, or just because there's frequent ear infections, but we start to move in the direction of this kind of more salutogenic approach to care. And that is to say that we're not trying to fix something per se. In fact, that symptom constellation that is presenting to our office, that we call a condition or label a diagnosis, that is simply the body adapting brilliantly, perfectly, really, if you think about it, to the set of circumstances that it's been exposed to up to that point in time that you see them, that they're experiencing that. And to remind docs that I think we are at a point where trust in the kind of mainstream model of diagnosis and fear-based care is eroding. And what they're looking for is not a slightly more alternative doctor who, finds this other scary thing that could be going wrong in your spine called a subluxation. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we could really do well to remind ourselves that the key unique offering that chiropractors, I think, can offer is a different perspective about health, and that symptoms aren't necessarily something that's bad. It's just a window into what's going on and how the body's adapting. And to frame our care not as a solution to those things, or even a fix. We are not fixers, of the subluxation per se, but we are supporters of the nervous system. Insofar as that, as we, get under, and we've seen that, we all know this, like we do know this, families get under chiropractic care, they're more adaptable, they're more resilient, So I think that framing of care, and then, for the parents, for, especially young parents, or soon to be parents, the flip side of that coin is you can trust your body. I know you've been told over and over again that you can't, that this thing, this pregnancy that you're going through, um, you should be afraid of. But this line stuck with me from I can't remember what, midwifery based documentary, but it goes something like this: that there's a pivotal time during a birth when a woman can realize that the power, the majesty, the intensity of that birth process is not, in fact, something that's happening to her, but it is something that is coming from her. And so the power of birth is the mom. It is that person. It is that woman, um, creating that power. And wow, isn't that a cool, empowering, message? And applying that, then I think if we can get that message to moms during pregnancy, it can change how she responds and reacts and raises that child. Is it in a fear-based model where every symptom needs to be suppressed because that's what we do? Or is it in a trust-based model? And I think that trust-based model is where we should be stepping into. I think that's where people want to be heading. Um, and they just don't have the terminology for it yet. But people are doing physiological hacking left, right, and center, and people are jumping in ice baths and doing all this stuff because not because they're treating a symptom. They're trying to squeeze out a little bit more adaptability, a higher degree of function, from their body. So people are like looking in that direction, and all we have to do is like open the door, be like, and the nervous system dictates it all. So come on, we got to make sure that that's functioning, at its best.
Beautiful. That 100%. In fact, the talk that I'm doing in May at the gathering is, and I kind of quivered at saying it this way, but it's the beautiful maladapting nervous system. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It just really fits what you've outlined is when people present of all ages, little fiddle farts on up, their presentation is just a window into their neurological integrity, and it's beautiful actually how the nervous system is so innately wise to adapt the way it needs to. So it's going to be fun. And again, what dates is that?
May 15th and 16th, 40th anniversary, ICPA gathering. It really has a feeling of coming home. If you're a family chiropractor, like these are your people. If you haven't been to one, it has a different vibe. And yeah, you can read more about it on our website, icpaforkids.com. That's the number 4. And then up in the corner, you'll see the gathering, and you can click on that.
Well, I can't wait. And thank you for having me. It was, this is just, ICPA is near and dear to my heart. And this is, it's like a coming home for me. So I can't wait to be there and see Steady Eddie, Justin. But now I know the story behind that. Now it's a different perspective. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't intend to go there, but like there's I just reflect back to that often. And anyway, yeah, it was kind of impactful. And then years later, I remember, reading or listening to John DeMartini, and he talks about collapse the wave, and that's, you can, because we have positive charges associated with certain things and negative charges
Yep.
associated with them. And we carry this baggage around with us, and like, you got to collapse the wave. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that speaks to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And isn't that kind of about the adapting nervous system too, though? About being able to recognize those events and how do you regulate your nervous system so you don't end up on that up and down wave all the time?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Can you stay, I hate to use the term immune to it, but like, and can you stay aware of it, like present? I think chiropractors do a really good job, oftentimes successful ones do anyway, of being present. And that's really so key. Just the other week in the office, adjusting, kids are like, they're getting wild out in the waiting room. I can't remember if they were waiting or if I had already seen them, but like, multiple families were there and the kids were starting to run around, and I'm like, something's about to break. And then the lamp, they knocked over a lamp, and I'm like, yeah, I should have, because I felt it 30 seconds before that, and I should have walked out and been like, all right, get in the playroom, enough of this running around. I should have like played that role, and they would have like stopped and listened, because I'm not very stern in the office, if you could imagine.
That's great. That's great. Well, thanks for hanging out. I can't wait to see you in a few months. And you guys, if you haven't been to an ICP event, get your bums over there. A mazillion great speakers, great information. And thanks for, I know you're busier than a wet hen, and but I appreciate you hanging out. And it was great to learn a little bit more about you. Now,
thanks.
It was great.
Always great chatting with you, and thanks for inviting me on. And I can't wait to see you as well.
All right, we'll see you guys there. Again, I'd like to thank Cairo Secure. Me and Elizabeth appreciate them having our backs for the profession, and for us to help spread the words on kiddos and chiropractic, and shine the light on healthier spines and healthier lives. We'll see you next month.
Today's pediatric show, Look to the Children, was brought to you by Cairo Secure.